They don't know what you saying. I'm hoping they playing. My ink can be blacker than hair. Still turn gold. I literally write what I'm saying. I'll put a mic in my hand just to feel like I'm super. They screaming Shakur the man.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's G-RexTheGreat, aka your friendly neighborhood comic enthusiast, and we are here. Now, if you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. So we're going to be going over Absolute Batman issue number 14 today, you know, in like preparation for next month's Absolute Batman number 15, which is going to be the start of a new story arc for Absolute Batman and officially starting the story arc for Absolute Joker. So we definitely wanted to cover the conclusion to the current arc, which focuses on Absolute Bane. It's been completely phenomenal, an absolute banger, if you will. But without further ado, you know, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into this thing because I'm ready to go ahead and cover this. So we got Absolute Batman number 14. We got the cover here. Batman and Waylon Jones, Killer Croc fighting against Bane. Just looks amazing. The art is dope. We're going to jump straight into the first page here. We got like a little flashback scene kind of thing. We see a lot of conversations between that people had with Bruce, like we got Riddler, you know, Waylon Jones, Harvey Dent, the Penguin, you know, all the different people that would eventually become his villains at the hands of Absolute Bane. So the current conversation is between Alfred and Batman here, where basically they're just talking about the Venom that, you know, Batman has in his system and how they could possibly use that as a weapon against Bane. So Batman's like, look, but I'm listening type. We also see Alfred kind of narrating this a little bit as we get closer to the fight, you know. But basically it boils down to Alfred asking Batman, what do you want to do? And Batman says, let's go to fucking war. Like, it's time to do this. It's time to end this once and for all. So that's when we get the next page here. It says Abomination. Also identifies that it is the conclusion of the story arc. Written by Scott Snyder. Nick Dragotta has been on the art. Every chapter's looked amazing so far. This is the whole creative team here. Shout out to all of them for putting together such a good book so far, man. And then jumping into the actual story here, we see a news conference type of thing going on, but it gets interrupted by Mayor Hill coming up to the podium, and he just basically talks about what's going on tonight and everything, and basically just telling people to stay inside because he doesn't want any collateral damage due to the Bane and Batman fight, you know, because this whole thing has been set up and whatnot. So basically he tells people to obey the curfew, you know what I'm saying, stay inside. And then talking to the guard here, basically tell them, look, you know what I'm saying, the orders came from higher up and whatnot. Don't let nobody get 10 blocks within this fight, you know what I'm saying, just keep everybody out. And dude's like, yes sir, I got you. It's not gonna happen. Then we jump over to Absolute Catwoman, and she's basically like, look, she's basically just talking to herself like, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, I hope you have a damn good plan. And she's right. When you're going up against a person like this, like Absolute Bane, guys to have some kind of plan or some kind of determination, because without either one, you ain't winning. So that's when we jump over to the Menace himself, Absolute Bane, talking to his scientist, you know what I'm saying, assistant there. And they're basically going over to Bane, the Venom overall. She's basically telling him that you got to be careful because Subject 27, which is Batman, he has at least one infusion of Venom left in his system. But Bane's like, look, I'm counting on it. I want him to do it. Matter of fact, I need him to do it. And she's like, fair enough, you know, because with the recent enhancements that we gave you, there's no comparison. She's gonna call him a miracle later on. Like, she's basically saying, look, after we don't fix you up again, ain't nobody touching you type situation. So that's where she's like, but Bang, after this fight, your sister will need a long rest. The heart's only true nurse. All I want is rest. One more and I'll have it. Basically, Bane's at like the end of his conquest here, but we'll have to see how he squares up against Batman, you know, because that's not an easy fight. So jumping on to the next scene, we're gonna split it a little bit with Bane entering the football arena for the fight with Batman, and also split with Killer Croc fighting Bibbo, because this whole fight is going to be, you know what I'm saying, kind of going back and forth between those two events because they're kind of relative in terms of Killer Croc and Batman going up against these two opponents that just seemingly won't go down, you know. And they also like thematically connect because, as you'll see later on throughout this fight, Killer Croc, or Waylon Jones at the time, felt like he had nobody in his corner at a moment, you know. But then once he realized that Bruce was still there for him, it really helped him bring it around and, you know what I'm saying, come back in the fight. And we also see that a little later where, you know what I'm saying, it seems like an impossible task for Bruce, but with everybody behind him, like Alfred, Harley Quinn, you know, Killer Croc, you know, all these people that's there to help him, you know, he kind of brings them around. He's able to turn it around fully. But That's jumping ahead a little bit. Let's get back to current time. I got a little bit ahead of myself. So let's go ahead and jump back. That's where Bane walks into the arena. He says, well, here I am. And Bane gets nothing in return. Just absolute darkness and silence. So that's what he repeats himself. He said, here I am. Where's your champion? And then that's when we go over to Harley Quinn. She says, light them up, guys. And then that's when everybody starts shooting from the stands and Batman pops in. Just saying hello. All the lights glaring now. Batman pops in, staring Bane down 1v1. And that's where Alfred pops up. He says, all right, kid, here we go. Remember the plan. You wear him down, keep at him until he uses up all his venom. And then, when he's got nothing left, you use yours. And Batman's like, look, stop talking. It's time to fight. Harley, you ready? And she's like, yep, let's make him famous. And that's when she sends all of the drones. The drones come in, start covering everything. And Bane's just like, the Great Republic watches. I hope you've learned some new techniques so we can give them an actual spectacle. Let's see. And then that's when we throw back to Batman or Bruce, at the time, watching Waylon fight Bibbo and everything. And that's when they're mentioning that, Jones seems to have no one in his corner, no trainer, nobody. He's a man alone. And then that's when, boom. So Batman starts to fight off officially. He steps on a button that he has on the ground and we hear a giant boom. And that catches Bane's attention because that would catch anybody's attention. He turns around and the first thing Bane sees is a giant skyscraper just exploding in the middle and falling directly at Bane. And Batman says, I call this move Welcome to Gotham. And a giant building falls on Bane. But not before he laughs first, of course. He got to get a little chuckle out. But with a giant boom, the building falls on Bane. And that's when we cut back to Jones, Waylon Jones fighting Bibbo. And we see, Jones going on the offensive here, getting some punches off and everything. And then that's when the Batmobile comes in. They say incoming. And Bane gets back up from the building falling on him, which should tell you everything you need to know about Absolute Bane right there in and of itself. He says, you think I don't see what you're doing, little one? And that's when Alfred says, locked in, kid. And Batman yells fire. And then we shoot 2 cables out of the Batmobile. And they just attach directly to Bane's back. And then the Batmobile flies in and tags Bane in the back. And then we cut back to Waylon Jones fighting against Bibbo here. It says 3 rounds into this heavyweight bout, and Jones is still bringing it to the champ. And that's when Absolute Bane injects more venom into himself, getting even bigger. And then what we're low-key noticing, but not really noticing, is that he's also healing. He's also healing from these as they happen. So it says, this is the narration from Alfred here. It says, as I come around to hit Bane again, I make the mistake of glancing at him. He's already healed, but how? And his size. Something is wrong. His speed, too. I'm tumbling through the air before I know it. And that's where we see Bane just backhands the Batmobile, just send Alfred flying through the air. And then he's like, come on, is that all you've got? And then Alfred continues his, I'm getting text messages, so every now and then I look up and, and read the message. But that's when we jump back to Batman, and then Alfred continues his monologue. He says, but what Batman lacks in power and speed, he makes up for in brutality. And that's when Batman uses his scraggly cape. This cool. Honestly, the cape is dope. And it just stabs Bane directly in the eye. He said he's a genius at violence, and it just yoinks his eye out of the socket. And Bane's like, yo, nah. So boom. That's when Alfred continues the monologue. He's like, and I've known some prodigies in my day, but him, he moves like a man ecstatic, a man born to do this very thing. He doesn't hesitate, not even when Bane regrows his eyeball. And that's how devious the regeneration is. He literally just regrew his eye, bro. And then Alfred continues. He said, the kid revels in it. The bringing forth of blood from those who deserve it. The blood of people who never see their own in the open air. People so powerful, they've almost forgotten what courses through their own veins. And Batman starts running the batarangs through. He's literally just literally going at it. He just stabbed his eye out. Boom, came through with the other knives running through his skin. And Alfred continues. He says, until Batman shows them in red, spraying arcs. Now, see, this is where he plucks like a little piece of the, you know what I'm saying, the cape and everything, but he gets a little too carried away. Alfred pops out the Batmobile like, yo, nah, chill. And that's where he gets caught by Bane. He grabs the cape. Shout out Edna from The Incredibles, no capes. But Bane says, you know, we're not that different, you and me. And he just throws Batman to the ground. Boom. Picks him back up, starts hitting him like how Hulk did Loki. It's pretty much classic at this point. If you got a big dude and a smaller dude fighting, you got to hit him with their Hulk versus Loki's treatment. So he says, the truth is, I look at you and I see myself, young, stupid. Smash him to the ground again. But playtime is over. So go on now. Use it. Use your only move. But Batman nods it. He says, not right now. And then that's when Harley Quinn yells out, release the green machine. And no one else but Killer Croc jumps out of the football field. I'm talking about lights flashing in the air, drones flying. Is he there? Yes, he is. That man jumps down and chomps directly on Absolute Batman, and that's where we get the cover from, obviously. But Batman under him just hacking the saw at his leg. Like, look at how huge Bane is compared to Batman, and we know how big Batman is, like 6'9". He's barely even bigger than Bane's thigh. This is ridiculous, man. But Alfred continues his monologue. He says, the thing that was once Waylon Jones tears at him, ripping off chunks of flesh, swallowing them whole. Bane infuses more venom. I can hear the sickening squelch of muscle fibers multiplying, thickening. He grows bigger, impossibly big. Pause. The wounds close. He just, every time he injects more venom, he's healing even more. But Batman is still, he literally just chomped at his leg, man. Just cut a giant piece of his leg. And that's where Alfred says, but God bless him. The kid keeps on. And Bane's like, you little. Put a ninja on him. But Batman's like, what? No fancy quote this time? And then that's what Bane says, towards giants and fleas, we should show no pity, and tosses Batman into the stands. And that's when we cut back to Waylon Jones versus Bibbo. And that's when we get Bibbo starting to go on the offensive on Waylon Jones. Waylon Jones looking like he got nowhere else to go. He getting the hands put on him. And that's what people in the crowds is like, yo, your man's is about to go down. Like, your man's ain't got nothing else to do. He about to lose this fight. And that's where Bruce just walks away. Bruce walks off. Yeah, Harley Quinn, we cut back to the fight. Harley Quinn pops at him. She's like, hey, look, somebody would probably typically give you like a very inspirational speech right now, but I ain't got that for you, big dog. Get your ass up and get in this fight. That's all I got for you. Cool? And Batman like, cool, let's do it. So Batman gets ready to jump back in the fight. Harley Quinn up in the AK on him and everything. But Harley Quinn's just like, look, bro, he just keep popping more venom, you know what I'm saying? They're like, I don't know what to do. Like, does he have a max? Like, can we get him to top off on venom? Pause. Like, can we get him to just overload, basically? And, like, they're like, look, bro, I don't even know if that's possible right now. Because we see him getting bigger and bigger, pause. And he's literally about to rip Waylon Jones in half. So, at seeing that, Batman jumps right back into action, you know. And Batman's like, look, bro, what's your point? You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares if we can't overload him? I'm still going to lock in regardless because I'm Batman and he got my friend. But Alfred's like, look, bro, my point is, I don't think you can get him to reach some max level anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to get out of there. And Batman's like, no, we're going to stick to the plan. So Harley Quinn is like, look, tell me we're still alive, you know, so make sure everything is going on. And then look, they're like, we still good, we still alive. So Batman jumps into the fight to have Killer Croc, Waylon Jones' back, because we flash back to when Waylon Jones was fighting Bibbo in the arena. Remember, they said it felt like Waylon had no trainer, no nothing, you know what I'm saying? He was just in there dolly. And that's where Bruce starts to run up to the cage halfway into the seventh, you know what I'm saying? And we cut back to current time, and we got literally Waylon Jones about to get ripped in half, and Batman is coming down from the sky. I'm talking about coming off the top rope. And then we cut back to the fight between Waylon and Bibbo, and that's where Bruce he fights his way to the arena, and he's like, yo, Waylon, I'm here, bro. Like, I'm here for you. You got this, gang. And then that's when, boom, we cut back to normal time. It's a lot of cutting in this. There's a lot of cutting back and forth, but I told y'all it was going to be, you know what I'm saying, intersecting between that fight and this fight. So we got Bruce just coming down crazy with the axe. I'm talking, he came out the sky like Luffy in Marineford. He dropped that axe down Bane's back. And then he says, it's all right, Way, go. And thank you. I got this. Telling Waylon Jones, you know what I'm saying, you definitely did your thing out here, my boy, but I got it from here. I got you. And that's when he tells Bane, I severed your spine at the thoracic, which means you can't use your legs anymore, but that's okay. You still have your arms. And that's where Batman goes to chop his arms. And then Batman's like, oh man, now you can't use your arms either. But hey, you can still bite me. And no, we're not that different, Bane. We both lost fathers. The difference is I didn't break my father's back or his heart. And that sends Bane into a rampage, injecting, honestly, probably all the venom he has. And that's when his scientist friend is like, Bane, it's incredible. Your system is surpassing any limit we thought possible. And Bane gets even bigger. Pause. And he says, you think you can win. And he drops the fist of God down from the heavens. And Batman basically gets flung out the way. Like, he gets ragdolled out the way. And Bane's like, you think that you're better than me? You're nothing. You're nothing. Drops another fist down at him. And then we cut back to the Waylon Jones and Bibbo fight. He says, this could be it for Jones. Bibbo has a death lock on that rear naked choke. And that's when we see, you know what I'm saying, Batman lodged into the ground. At the same time, we saw Waylon Jones getting choked out by Bibbo. And then he's like, nothing. Just basically just, you know what I'm saying, crashing out on him. Like, because Batman's actually putting up a fight, and that's probably pissing Bane off, honestly. Or making him happy, you know what I'm saying? Either one. Maybe both. So that's when Bane says, Meat, I've given everything. Also, my people in home could be safe because this is war. It's all war. But I'm done. It's your turn now. Your turn. And Bane just starts crashing out at monumental levels on Batman. Just start ground pounding. Pause. Just like straight gorilla charm in the ground. And then that's when the scientist sword is like, I can't believe what I'm seeing, Bane. Your cells, they've moved beyond self-repairing and become almost embryonic, undifferentiated if 27 is anything like you. You're a miracle. And then Bane is still, you know what I'm saying, threatening Batman, basically talking his shit, talking his smack, talking pure cash money. He's telling him to use it now, telling him to use the Venom, you know what I'm saying? That's when they're like, come on, Way, don't give up. That's the flashback to the fight when he was in the choke against Bibbo. And then coming back to current, you know what I'm saying, Bane is still smashing down on Batman, pause. And then that's when we cut back to the fight with Waylon and Bibbo. Jones is searching for some last reserve of strength. And we cut back. The narration of this is crazy, having to describe every cut. But it says, do it, kid. Use the Venom. That's them basically begging Batman to use his Venom and everything. Alfred's like, it's your only chance of making it out of there alive, please. And that's when we get this crazy shot of Bane just morphing his body because of this Venom. It says, go on, use it. Batman coughing up blood at this point. He says, all right, you win. You want me to use the Venom? I'll use it. Look at this shot right here of Batman beaten, bloody, lost teeth. Like this is a drawn out body to the wall. I'm talking about everything going crazy. This is a straight up brawl, a real fight. He says, I'll use it. Catwoman, take this shot. And she says, I got you, baby. And starts up in that Absolute Bane. And then that's when we cut back to the Waylon Jones fight. And basically he basically jumps up in the air and basically uses all of his weight and everything, you know what I'm saying, against the guy, and basically just drops him on his neck. Probably killed him, honestly. He probably broke his neck, because this looks ridiculous. And then that's when Bane gets hit in the back with the needles and everything, and the scientist is like, oh no. And Bane's like, wait, stop. No. And then boom, that's when Batman throws the axe at his back, and it causes a massive explosion that just basically blows up, implodes Absolute Bane with a giant boom. And that's when the monologue continues. It says, I can't help but laugh. Then laugh like I haven't in years, because this kid, bloody hell, but how? I mean, just Alfred just shocked at this point. Alfred just can't believe what he's seeing. I mean, he's literally blowing up Absolute Bane right now. But then that's when we cut back to 2 days ago. And we see, so how much of this stuff am I taking out of you again? We basically get Riddler, you know, at this point, after Bane did all of his thing at him, he took out the Venom out of Batman. And that's when we get like these little, you know what I'm saying, these little shots come from for Catwoman. This was the plan that they put together that we didn't see at the beginning. And then we cut back to the Waylon Jones fight. You know, it says unbelievable, Jones has done it and everything. And then that's when we basically get, you know, Batman popping out like, yeah, I did it and everything, I won. You know what I'm saying? And that was also cut with the Waylon Jones fight of him and Bruce celebrating or beating Bibbo and everything. And then that's when we get back to boom. Disposing of the body of Absolute Bane. Literally had to dump the rest of his body out of a truck. The Batmo truck. And then that's when we get, you know what I'm saying, Oswald and Harvey Dent and everything in the hospital. And Harvey's like, you see that, Oz? Bruce kicked him right into the bay. Basically, like, look, Bruce really spun for us. Like, Bane did us extremely dirty, but Bruce spun the block and handled his business on the behalf of his friends. That's what Alfred says, and I'm grateful to Batman for the reminder type situation. And then we get Absolute Catwoman popping out with the Venom and everything. And then, you know what I'm saying, she left with it in a suitcase, and she's going to see the, you know what I'm saying, everything. And then we get the scientist lady out in Coda. Says, well, good morning. I must say, Bane, you're looking wonderful today. Your cells, they're just such a marvel. But I'm here because someone else wants to talk to you here. And that's literally what's left of Bane. He's just brain, eyes, and some bones. Batman turned that man into mush. Put that man in a hyperbolic time chamber tube, man. But that's when we get the person that wanted to talk to Bane. It says, Bane, I just wanted to put your mind at ease. This whole incident, I see it as a minor setback. Now, look, I know you were hoping to retire, but my sincere belief is that wouldn't make you happy. Not really. Lying around Santa Prisca with the family? Come on, you love it too much. This war. So as your friend, I'd like to help. What was the name of your father's rebel group again? The Celios Libers? What a beautiful name. Free skies. See, that's how I want you to feel from now on. So you can focus on what you really love. Unburdened and liberated. And free. And Absolute Joker blows up his crib. Like, what are we talking about? Absolute literally just told Bane, like, look, gang, I don't want you to have these ties back home. I don't want you to feel like you got to think about the crib, your family, your people, all that stuff. So I'm going to let off a nuke on it. I'm going to drop a nuke on it. Like, what kind of crap is that? And then it just says next. Joker. Like I said, we had to cover the setup for Absolute Batman 15 in the introduction of the Joker, man. This Absolute Bane story arc was incredible. It was crazy. It was brutal, bloody, man. Like, the whole thing, it was great. I'm loving this fresh new take on Batman. The Absolute Universe is a banger. All together from all the titles. The only one I'm not really keeping up with like fully is Absolute Flash, but man, everything else is going crazy, man. But that's really all I got for you. You know, if you liked the video, drop a like, man. If you got any comments or any thoughts about Absolute Batman or the Absolute Universe in general, or just anything comic related, you know what I'm saying, drop them down below and let me know what you're thinking. If you want to become one of the greats, you know what I'm saying, drop that sub, man. We're on the road to 300 and we're almost there, man. Shout out to y'all for sure for that, man. But like I said, that's all I got for you. Y'all be safe out there in internet land. Spread peace, love, positivity, kindness, all of those good things, man. I'm G-Rex the Great, your friendly neighborhood comic enthusiast, and I'll catch y'all next time.